Welcome to part 6 and the final video in our series on using the Kong Drum Designer in Reason. In this video we're going to talk about the audio signal path and cable connections on the back of the Kong Drum Designer. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to maximize the rack by hitting F6. Let's drag a Kong in, and then let's expand the drum and effects section. So let's start off with, I just want to touch on the FX1 and FX2 slots. Actually, all of the FX slots. FX1 and 2, these are going to be for each individual drum pad or drum channel. So whatever effects that you choose for these are going to affect just the channel that you're on or the pad that you're working with. When you insert effects into the bus or master, then these are global effects. So that in the drum control area, you can adjust the level that's sent to the bus effects for each one. So just because you have something in the bus effects slot doesn't mean that each pad has to use it. You can control with that bus effects send level there, but just know that whatever you have in these two is going to affect every pad. With the master effects, whatever you have here is just going to hit everything. There is no control in this area here to bypass the master effect. So as far as the audio signal flow goes within Kong, the beginning of the sound starts with the drum module here. Then it moves to FX1 and FX2. So the sound's going to pass through whatever you have here. These could be empty. Or you could have effects in here and just turn them off with the on/off button. But the sound starts with the drum module, then passes through FX1 and FX2. Then it goes to the drum control panel level, and then from the level on out to the master effects and master output here. That's your level indicators for the master output. And this is your master level, which will control each pad that's going out of here, as long as you haven't sent it out to a separate output here. So that's the signal flow if you've got the drum output set to master effects. The bus effects acts as a send effect when you have this set up down here. So how does that work then? Let's put something on here. Tape echo, that should be an obvious effect. I'm going to turn that off for the time being real quick. So in the drum control panel, the bus effects is down. We're routed to master effects. And I'm trying to show here that the bus effects function as a send when you're using master effects out. If I turn this on, we're still not going to hear it because our bus effects is down. But if I turn this up here, let's turn that feedback up and turn up the dry wet blend. So the bus effects is acting as a send effect, and we're sending it with this level here. We can come to the snare drum, and since the bus effects is down, we're not getting that effect. So if we move on to the next one here and send it out to bus effects, then whatever we have in this effects slot is going to act as an insert and a send effect. Now what does that mean? We can turn down the bus effects and we're still going to have that echo because it's now acting as an insert. The audio is coming from the drum module, FX1, FX2, the level, then to the bus effects, then to the master out. And then you have the option of sending more signal to here as well. So, and then if I turn this up, you'll note I'll turn it all the way up. You see it's even more pronounced, so I'll turn that back down. Moving on to the next one, if you choose, say, a separate output, say 3 and 4, and let's go ahead and set up a mix channel. Hit tab and flip our rack around. I'm going to F3 and close the browser. Let's take 3 and 4 out and put it to the input on the mix channel that we created. You can see now it's labeled CongKit 3 and 4. I'll tab to the front. Now we see our audio is being sent to the mix channel that we created. So in this situation, the audio signal flow is the drum module effects 1 and 2, the drum control panel level, and then on to the 3 and 4 outs, which go to the mix channel. Now, in this situation, you can use this bus effects again to send this signal through the bus effects and master effects. So right now, with the bus effects down, the signal is just being sent to the mix. If we scroll up to the top and take note of the master level LEDs, we have no readout because the audio is not being sent there. But if we turn up the bus effects send, we're now sending that signal both to the mix channel we created and out to the master out of the Kong. See, and just to show you that it's still coming out the mix here. Okay, and so that's this audio signal flow in Kong. I just think that that's important to have an idea of how the audio is routed when you're working with these different effect slots and drum outputs. It's not the most exciting topic, but if you're ever having audio issues, that having knowledge of this can help you resolve what the problem is. So let's move on to, we've covered routing, using the audio outs here in the last example. So now I'd like to cover the breakouts on the back of Kong, and I'm going to delete this mix channel device that we created. That's very, and let's just start from the very beginning. So if we tab, there are breakouts here, so that if we say choose the echo, and actually I'm going to be sure that I hold down shift when I drag that in so it doesn't automatically connect to the Kong. And let's come to the output and go into the main input, take the main output and come into the input. Now our bus effects is down, take note of that. We have a dry bass drum. If we'd like to make use of that effect that we inserted, then we would turn up the bus effects send. And let's put something a bit more exaggerated on here. Kraftwerk drums. Okay, so now whichever pad that we choose, we can use the bus effects to send it to the echo. device that we brought in, and you can set up a chain of devices. You can even use a combinator. Also, along with the bus effects, which we've covered a lot here, you have an aux1 and aux2 send. So I'm going to turn that bus effects down, and let's get rid of the echo. So we'll flip the rack around, and here you have the aux send outs. Now there are not returns, so the audio that you sent out, you're going to need to we'll create a mix channel device. Let's show the insert effects. I'll flip this around the front, so if you're not used to Reason, it'll make more sense what we're doing. And what do I want to use here? I'll just use the RV7000 reverb. We'll flip the rack around by hitting tab, and let's take aux1 and put that into the input of our newly created mix channel. And Reason automatically routed that with their PLAN routing to the master section of the mixer. And so we've got no reverb, but if we turn up the aux1 send level, we should have our reverb that we created. And there it is. So just know you do have the original signal going through the routing as we discussed before and out the master. This aux send is going to be an additional audio channel that's created. So if I F6 and F5, you can see this is our send that we created, and this is the Kong kit. So if I scroll down, you'll see we have audio in these two separate channels. Now if I turn the aux1 send down, we're just going to have our Kong. I'll F6 and maximize the rack and delete this and start over here. The next thing we're going to look at is you have the ability to bring an instrument output into Kong. So there's an audio input here, and the routing is displayed on the back. If you route an instrument in, it's going to go through the bus effects. And if you have an external effect added through these breakout jacks, it's going to be routed through there. And then your master effects onto the master out. So I'll flip the rack around. Let's bring in a Maelstrom. And actually, I'll Control Z because I didn't hold down Shift, because I want to manually route that. So I'll hold Shift down, drag that in, flip the rack with Tab. Let's take our main output and put it into the audio input. Reason automatically routes the second channel. And let's flip the rack around, bring up my on-screen keys. And as you can see, I'll F3 and close the browser. The audio from the Maelstrom is being sent through Kong. So if we add an effect here, if you were to route an instrument into Kong, you probably wouldn't want to, use the reverb, because you could use another reverb that is in the, you could use the RV7000 or something else, but you have a couple other effects that are not available anywhere else. I think this overdrive resonator and the rattler, for instance. The ring modulator. And so that's how you would route an external instrument into Kong. And so I'll go ahead and delete that mouse drum. Now, there's a lot of CV control on the back of Kong, and that's a bit beyond the scope of this video. But I will just touch really quickly on the gate in and out, which is for the pads. You've got 1 through 16. This corresponds with the 16 pads. So if there are any of you that, I'll F3 and bring up the browser, if you prefer to sequence your drums with a pattern sequencer, you have the option of, you can bring in a redrum, and I'm just going to reset the device, clear all the sounds, tab around, F4 to get rid of my keys there, and let's just disconnect these cables. I forgot to hold down Shift. So the redrum also has a gate in and out as well, but what we want is the gate out, and let's just take the gate out for channel 1 here and put that on pad 1. And you've got gate in from 2, we'll put that on gate out of 2, 3 to gate in, and so on. You could do as all 16 pads if you'd like. But now, if you prefer sequencing, in an environment that's pattern based like this, you're now, let's close the drum and effects section. You are now controlling the pads with redrum. And actually, I will cover one other thing. I'll delete this redrum out. Another audio routing issue is that with Kong, you only have these 3 through 16 stereo pairs to route. And a lot of people like to have each of their drums on a single channel, but you're kind of limited. So if you come here, you see that you're limited to these outputs, but you've got 16 pads. So one thing that you can do is, let's create a mix channel, I'm going to create 4 mix channel devices. And let's start with pad 1. Let's send that out to 3 and 4. We'll take pad 2 and send that out to 3 and 4. Pad 3, we'll send that out to 5 and 6. And if you know, both of these pads, this is the default kit, so they're both set to 3, drum channel 3. I'm going to change this to 4. And we'll choose 5 and 6 for that as well. So just take note of the outputs. Pad 1, 3 and 4. Pad 2, 3 and 4. Pad 3, 5 and 6. Pad 4, 5 and 6. So now we're going to pan these. Left. Pad 2 will go right. Pad 3 will go left, pad 4 will go right. So then let's start with pad 1, which is pan to the left. Flip the rack around, and we'll take that and put it into, and Reason automatically creates a stereo connection, but it won't do that for the second one, which I'm going to drag to our second mixed channel device. Now when we work with 5 and 6, I'm going to hold down Shift so that Reason won't create that stereo group there. And we'll take channel 6 and put that into our fourth mixed channel. So I hope it's becoming clear what I'm doing here. We sent out the first two pads on 3 and 4 and panned left and right hard. Left for pad 1, right for 2, thereby creating a mono out for each one. So 3 gets the left for 1 and 4 gets the panned right for 2. Pad 3 and 4 we've sent out to 5 and 6. We panned 3 hard to the left, came out 5. 4 we panned hard to the right and came out 6. So now we have mono channels. I'll tab and go to the front of the rack, F5 and bring up the mixer. You see we have our drum pads on individual channels now in the mixer, so then this way we can put effects on them, adjust the levels here, use the EQ in the mixer, the compression here. Just we have much more flexibility and control routing them individually this way. So if I F6 and F5 at the same time, I'll play pad 1, and you can see it's there. And the second pad is on that. And we don't have a sound in 4, but otherwise that would be in our fourth mix channel that we created. So I hope that makes sense, how we accomplish this. And you could go ahead and do this with all 16 pads if you wanted to break them all out into individual channels in the mixer. And then I'll F5 and maximize the mixer. In this way you can select one, then hold down Shift and select another, right click and route to new output bus, and you've got all of your individually routed channels to a drums bus then, which with one level control for all of them. And also you could put effects on this one channel instead of putting them on each one individually, or do a mix of the two. So this actually turned out to be a little bit longer than I expected, but I hope you got some useful information out of this. I hope that you've actually watched the whole series and have gained some tips and things that you can use in your music production. So thanks for watching, and look out for more videos.